Hello everyone and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, May the 24th, 2021. It's Gary Gillen here and I am your host for this week's edition, and I hope you are all still revelling in the glory of our unbeaten season that brought us our coveted 55th League Championship title. As we ease into the close season and somewhat limited activity on the Rangers front, certainly on the Rangers playing front, I am glad to know that in a few short weeks we will get to see a number of our Invincibles strutting their stuff at the delayed Euro 2020. So it'll give us a chance to watch some football without the same level of tension and nerves that grips us, or certainly grips me anyway, when we're watching our beloved Rangers. And we'll also get to see some other players who may potentially be additions to our 2021-22 squad. You never know. Admittedly, I haven't been a genuine Scotland fan for a number of years now. The last game I think I recall watching was when they played Germany 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. It was in a qualifier for something. But the added spice of Scotland playing England on the 18th of June, I'm sure will get us going, and I'm sure we'll have some fun and banter on that day, as it's always nice to put one over on the old enemy. So from a games segment perspective this week, there's nothing. Obviously, no games to review. I won't be doing any game segment stuff over the summer for Euro games or anything like that, just Rangers games only. But as discussed over the last couple of shows, just from an RTV perspective, we do continue to engage with our member clubs to get the payments sorted as quickly as possible. And thanks again to everyone who's already paid, and for those who have gotten in touch to talk about some of the discrepancies. There has been some minor errors that we've made, and we will certainly correct those errors. We are doing our best to try and juggle all the balls in the air at the same time as getting NARSA 2022 organised as well. And before recording today, I believe I answered everyone who has copied me into emails, almost everyone. I think there's maybe one that I haven't, and I know for a fact our Secretary Treasurer Sandra Hawthorne was also doing the same. So we're definitely getting closer to having resolved everything and having everything all finalised to be able to make a payment to RTV. If we haven't managed to get back to you just yet, please don't worry, we will. But it might not do any harm just to pop us over a quick reminder email on the off chance that something funky happened at our end and the email might have been misplaced or marked as read when it shouldn't have been, or something like that. But working through this, a wee bit boring, bit of admin, but very, very important for us to continue to maintain our very strong partnership with RTV and pay them, of course, for the services that they have provided us. So we'll move on from there. So from a shout out perspective, I am very pleased to tell you that I have a great well-wishing shout out this week for my friend and former Rangers Football Club Supporters Liaison Manager, that was his title when the role was his, Jim Hanna. And Jim had a tremendous storied history during his career with the club, which took him through a whole bunch of different departments and a whole bunch of different roles, and I'm sure at some point that will make its way into a book at some point in the future, or at the very least it should make its way into a book. If you don't have a book on your mind, Jim, then please get it on your mind and let me know if I can help in any way with that. I would certainly be at the front of the queue to buy it if that was the case. During my early tenure with NARSA, Jim was pivotal in all dealings that we had with the club when we were organising basically anything. Tickets for club members heading home, VIP guests for our conventions, access to club officials for the conventions, any chats or quick pop-ins or impromptu tours of Ibrox if anyone was ever home for a visit. So basically, any business that we had ongoing from an NARSA perspective, any well wishes that were requested to be sent to anyone, or their families or whatever, it was basically Jim. So whatever you needed, Jim was your guy. And he was certainly a godsend for me in my early tenure, as I mentioned. Always available, always responsive, and always great company to be around when we had the chance to be in each other's company. He's a great guy, and here's a little known factoid of my Rangers journey and my Rangers life. One of the most significant phone calls, and I never actually picked up the phone call. It was a voicemail I received just due to the time difference of Jim being 7 hours ahead. One of the most significant calls I received was from Jim himself back in 2014. I can't remember exactly when it was in 2014, when he called to formally tell me and congratulate me that I'd been successful in my bid to be overseas rep on the ill-fated, as it turns out, official Rangers fans board. And I don't take my phone to bed. My bedroom is kind of sacrosanct when it comes to any phone activity. So I did come downstairs to a number of missed calls and then a voicemail with Jim basically saying, listen, I can't wait any longer for you to answer. I need to call the other unsuccessful candidates, but congratulations and I'll be in touch. And I have to admit, I must have listened to that voicemail about a dozen times before I told anyone what it actually meant, what it actually said, just in case I'd misheard it and I didn't want to make a bit of an arse of myself. So, but I have to admit, at the time it was a very, very proud moment for me. And even although the fans board didn't quite turn out to be the experience I was personally hoping it would be, it was, I think, the right idea, maybe just at the wrong time is probably the best way to sum it up, and we won't get into any more of that. But anyway, the reason I mentioned Jim this week is to wish him all the very best as he goes in for spinal surgery tomorrow, Tuesday of this week, May 25th. I know Jim hasn't been doing too great due to experienced back problems for quite some time now, so I'm sure that after the operation and recovery period, which he tells me is roughly about 4 to 6 weeks, that he'll be right as rain again and not suffering from the debilitating nerve pain that has blighted him for quite some time. Jim, from everyone at NARSA, all the very, very best of luck and good health to you, and I do look forward to catching up with you on the other side. Now, as an extension to the shout out, as Jim and I were chatting just over text last week in the aftermath of Trophy Day, he sent me a photograph of the Scottish Premier League trophy draped with our beautiful red, white and blue ribbons, and shared this following prose with me that he's given me permission to read out. So remember, as I read this out, that this is about the Scottish Premiership trophy, laden with our red, white and blue ribbons on it. It's been a while, old friend. We travelled all over the UK, Northern Ireland, Australia, the USA and Canada, and you gave me hundreds of stories, like when you got smashed up going to Melbourne, Australia, getting your picture taken with a naked guy, Fred Bennington, in Texas, and again getting a picture taken with an 80-year-old in Niagara Falls after I asked him not to lift it up as it weighed 3 stone. When I turned round, he lifted it up and him and you fell backwards towards the floor until I caught you both. The time at Glasgow Airport flying to the States and you were inside the metal container flying with American Airways, we were asked by a 6'4" American security guard who took us behind the screen and told me to open the case so they could see what was inside, otherwise they weren't going to allow us to travel. The panic set in, but I agreed to open it up. And then they asked me to take you out of the box, and when I did, they took out their mobile phones and asked if they could get their pictures taken with it. Then they arranged for it to travel in the cockpit with the pilot. We won't meet up again, but the memories were fantastic, and you're back home at Ibrox where you belong. Oh, gee, what about that, Jim always has an elegant way with words, and I have to admit that one really stirred up proud emotions for me. Again, Jim, thank you very much for that, and all the very, very best to you and your operation tomorrow, and we will be in touch, my friend. From a convention perspective update, we remain in a somewhat similar situation to my update from last week. As you know, our original ticket allocation sold out in record time, which was incredible. And what I can tell you is that we do continue to have positive dialogue with Planet Hollywood sales and operations staff to get access to a space that will satisfy our ever-growing needs for the number of people who want or need to come over for this historic event. I say need purposefully, as people have an air of absolute, I better be there. I cannot be anywhere else next June other than Vegas with all of the other bears, which is wonderful to hear. So as I mentioned last week, the talks have gone extremely positively, and we're most definitely, working with an event partner in the Caesars Entertainment Group who value our business. we are repeat customers, of course, and who care about our needs. But like everything in life, when you really want something to happen and to happen right now, it doesn't quite work out like that, but we are definitely getting closer to positive news on that front. So please do keep your eyes and ears peeled over the coming days, and we will hopefully get you the information that you need, that we will be having another sale for tickets. And like last time, plenty of notice will be given. There will be a period of time where the NARSA clubs will get the opportunity to purchase for the folks that missed out first time, and then they will go on general public sale, and plenty of notice will be given. We will do our best not to make it 7 a.m. on a Monday morning after a party weekend, lessons learned and all that, but we will make it at an appropriate time. I have a feeling that the time will have 55, and it's somewhere there, so something 55 p.m. in the UK and overseas, and we'll get a decent time over here for the North American bears as well. So stay tuned. Also, as I mentioned last week, on the hotel rooms, we have secured additional rooms via another addendum to the contract. So as and when we get an opportunity to put the tickets on sale, we will also let everyone know about the hotel rooms too. However, if you did try before and you couldn't get that organised, you'll know the process to follow, and you can get ready for that. They haven't been opened up yet, so if you try just now, you'll be unsuccessful. But if you are waiting for your room, as I mentioned last week, when it goes on sale again, please don't wait and then contact me afterwards to say, oh, I was kind of sleeping, or I kind of missed the boat on that. You know, that we're dealing with other people who have to do their business, and you know, there's only so much we can do from a flexibility perspective, so get it booked as quickly as possible to avoid disappointment. And another plug for our frequently asked questions document that has been discussed over the last few weeks. It's on our website and it's been communicated through our various communications channels. A lot of the information you will need to know, which is not related to when can I get more tickets, is there as well, just if you're looking for some logistical information as well. From another business perspective, we have our final NARSA Executive meeting this coming Wednesday for the existing NARSA Executive, where we will get together one last time and progress our ongoing items and prepare for our AGM on the 5th of June. More about that later. And just get together, as I say, one last time. This was an extended period that we were together, 3 years instead of 2, just due to the COVID and the agreed upon extension that we put in place. And you know, it's been a journey, let's just say that, and looking forward to connecting with all the folks there on Wednesday night and going through and essentially setting the scene for the AGM, but also setting the scene for a successful transition to the new NARSA Executive, who will be in place from June the 5th onwards. So yeah, wee bit of admin this week for us. From a communications perspective this week, some things I did want to mention, and the first thing was our Player of the Year that we had revealed last week was Alan McGregor. And by the way, have you seen his acceptance speech at last week's Player of the Year event held by the club? If you haven't, oh my word, you should absolutely check it out. It was very, very emotional. You know, obviously a wee bit of the old booze was involved and stuff like that, but watch his acceptance speech when he goes up and Emma Dodds is interviewing him, and then Stephen Gerrard comes in with some anecdotal support and ratification for how great a goalkeeper and how important he is to the team, but just incredibly emotional, just how much he loves the club, what it means to him. And I just absolutely loved it. Anyway, Alan is now aware of him being awarded the inaugural NARSA Player of the Year and was very, very thankful and very appreciative. We are going to try and get a video soundbite from him over the next wee while to have this one wrapped up. So please stay tuned and we'll get that as quickly as we can. I was kind of hoping to have it last week when the players were still around, but you know, with all the restrictions in the world, I don't think he's going too far. So we do have means of getting a hold of him if it's not through the official club channels, and we'll hopefully get him to give us a few words of wisdom from him. And knowing him, you actually have no idea what you're going to get whenever he gets a mic and has an opportunity to say something, and it's always very entertaining. So more to come on that. From a club perspective, The communication, I know I mentioned it last week and I've mentioned it a number of times, but I have to just applaud the communications coming from the club because they continue to be direct and absolutely no nonsense, which is just fantastic and great to see. And you might remember last week I had specifically mentioned some of the allegations that were labelled at our players after footage was leaked from a private party in the stadium with blatant insinuation that sectarian bile was spouted by our players, and the club mentioned at the time the dangers of trial by social media, and lo and behold, Police Scotland found no evidence of any wrongdoing whatsoever, and surprise surprise, we're in the clear. But not only that, the club are saying be careful what you're doing. And then they're also saying, and they have also said through a statement, to the public figures out there who came out almost in an instant, absolute cross-the-line condemnation of the club, not so fast, folks. We'll be raising legal proceedings against you because that stuff is just not on. You should know better, and now you're going to feel it. And I just think it's absolutely sensational communication strategy and an ability to stand up for ourselves because we know we're in the right. So brilliant again from the club. Fantastic work again from David Graham and his crew. And please just keep doing what you're doing. It's going great. And over time, these are all the mini battles that we need to win to be able to make sure that the war overall is as fair and equitable as it can be, because that's all the club wants. The club doesn't want any preferential treatment or anything special. They just want to be treated as fairly as everyone else, and it's very obvious from some sectors and some quadrants of the country back home that that's absolutely not the case, and people are becoming more and more found out as time goes on. So yeah, great work. You might have also seen earlier today information from the club on the website article that things are progressing very well on new Edmiston House, the structure that's going to be just across or just adjacent to Ibrox, and information was released today on an official supporters package that can be purchased for £150. You can access a lifetime package which includes, if you forgive me for reading it here, your name inscribed on the official supporters wall in the new Rangers Museum, an official supporter welcome pack and exclusive gift, Ibrox Stadium and Edmiston House model, the first opportunity to visit the Rangers Museum when it opens, priority window to purchase tickets for Rangers hosted events held in Edmiston House, an official certificate signed by Rangers manager Stephen Gerrard and chairman Douglas Park, and if you are a MyGers member you will also receive 50 MyGers points as well. So make no mistake here, everyone, new Edmiston House is a very key strategic game changer for our club, and one that has been a long time in the planning and a long time coming. And if we do this right, if we do this venue right, we have a hugely valuable asset for our club and obviously, of course, the surrounding community and the wider Glasgow community as well. So any opportunity we get to support it as fans will be most welcome by the club, I'm sure, so we can all do our bit to make sure that this is going to be a success. I'm really looking forward to seeing that when I eventually get a chance to head back home. The artist impressions and the architecture impressions look tremendous, and what they have planned for the inside is going to be amazing. So we'll put a link up to that article in our accompanying blurb for this week's podcast, but more great things to look forward to as we continue planning in earnest our 150th season. Next on the comms front is Rangers related, but not absolutely directly. It's from our very own Orange County, California. As you'll know, one of the deals of the partnership between Rangers Football Club and Orange County Soccer Club is that they'll get to loan some of our academy or fringe players, and one of those for this season is Rhys Breen. Rhys Breen, I'm sure it's Rhys or Rhys, I'm going to say Rhys. And Rhys started Saturday's game, just Saturday past there, in their home opener for the season, and I'm told, I didn't get to see the game, admittedly, but I'm told he put in a cracking performance. He arrived in California just last week, and after his quarantine went straight into the lineup at centre back for Orange County. Yeah, straight in, and I'm told he had a very solid game and restricted Sacramento Republic to 0 shots on target from inside the box, which is pretty impressive by any standard. He showed himself up to be very athletic, threw himself around a lot, and generally had a very impressive debut. This is from Dan Rutstein from the Orange County Club. So, and how about this? On how to endear yourself to your new fans. The main highlight of the night, as Orange County clung to their slender 1-0 lead, With about 10 minutes to go, he gave a rousing "come on" to the fans, accompanied with a whole bunch of fist shaking and passion, and the fans just absolutely lapped it up, and the team did indeed hold on for the 1-0 victory. So very, very good to hear our players making a positive impact on their lone clubs, and who honestly doesn't love a solid "come on" from our heroes on the pitch during the game? Well done, Rhys, and congratulations to Orange County. And also, from an Orange County and Rangers partnership perspective, they have launched some co-branded merchandise, with the first item being a co-branded scarf going on sale, with more items to come in the not too distant future. So I will put a link in the accompanying blurb for the podcast today for the scarf, but you should really, truly, if you don't click any of the links, you should click this one, because you should check this scarf out. It's an absolute beauty, folks. Next, on the communication front, the Keys and Grey podcast this past Friday. I know I've talked about this podcast before. It's one of my favourites. It's one of my staple go-tos. But this past Friday, the Keys and Grey podcast featured a whole bunch of content specifically dedicated to our wonderful Rangers Football Club and our historic 55th title triumph. And if you haven't listened to their pod yet, I would absolutely recommend it. It's genuine football guys talking to some real, genuine, high-profile football legends about all things football. And to that very point, from a legendary perspective, they had a very special guest on this past week, none other than the captain himself, Richard Gough. It was a superbly entertaining and as always, wonderful podcast. And Richard Gough, Richard Keys speaks well as well, but Richard Gough on this occasion is who I'm talking about. Speaks very well and just has an abundance of amazing stories to tell. My only tinge of disappointment was that the interview got cut short, as they do try and be fairly strict with the kind of 45 to 50 minute mark for their pod each week, just to make sure that they keep the audience. But it felt like we were just getting going, and I could just sit and listen to Richard's stories all day. So tremendous, but it's an absolutely great listen, and I'd encourage you to go check it out. If you search for Keys and Grey, that's Keys and the word and Grey, on any of the regular podcast platforms, you'll find it. It's definitely, as I say, one of my go-to pods each week. And speaking of Mr. Andy Gray, we should hopefully have some exciting news to share about him over the next wee while that you're not going to want to miss. We'll get our communications organised with some key Rangers fans, partners across the world, and get some communications out shortly, and I'll definitely update you on future pods. I hope this provides a wee bit of intrigue for you, and that's what I was going for anyway, but more to be shared when we know a wee bit more. But pretty exciting stuff coming up, I hope, over the next wee while. And almost the last thing on the comms front for this week, the Trues Blues Loyal podcast. And you might remember they've had a few of us on. Brian Campbell, NARSA VP's been on, I've been on, Victoria from out in Burlington has been on, or is actually, I think she's a staple member of the team over there now. And they've all been on, so they've certainly done their best to give NARSA a plug across the Rangers world. And they're now doing a new series on Rangers supporters clubs. And they have tomorrow, Tuesday the 25th, our very own Las Vegas Loyal Rangers Supporters Club on the show. So that airs at 7 p.m. UK time tomorrow. So if you have time at that time and you want to see how all the boys and girls down in Las Vegas are doing, and I say down there because Las Vegas for me is down there because I'm up here in Canada. So, but just to see how they're doing, how their excitement is building for NARSA 2022, how COVID affected them, their thoughts on the season past, and all that sort of stuff. Please go check it out. I'll put a link to their YouTube channel to go and subscribe if you want to, and that's where you would access tomorrow's podcast as well. It will be on YouTube and probably on other platforms, but I know for sure on YouTube, so you can get to see all the guys down there, Drew and Jimmy and John and whomever else is going to be there. I'm sure it will be a lot of fun. Lastly, on the communication front for this week, we did talk last week about the wonderful work that was done by a whole bunch of groups across the world on Rangers lighting up the world with the spectacular show on the Burj Khalifa. Well, this week another video to accompany last week's video came out. It came out yesterday morning, and this time it was providing another video but with a bit of a slant on a kind of behind the scenes sneak peek into how the event unfolded on the night, and it was at night time in Dubai that the event took place. And the video, this new video is so well done, and gave an overview just of the magnitude of the show that we all got elsewhere in the world got to witness on screen. But just to give you a sneak peek of the people involved, how it looked from where they were at, the celebrations that they got involved with when they were watching it, and stuff like that. Just absolutely brilliant. And one main part of yesterday's communications that came out was that through all of the fundraising efforts that we went through for this particular initiative to put it on, we also managed to have some excess monies, and were able to help out 2 charities close to everyone on the team's hearts. So with donations of over £3,000 each going to both the Chris Boyd charity and the Rangers Former Players Benevolence Club as well. So incredible sums raised, and both very deserving charities. So hopefully next week we'll have some formal responses from both charities that we can share with you. You'll probably see them on social media and the like as the week progresses. But just great to do something iconic, great to then see something a wee bit more behind the scenes and a bit of a sneak peek of the efforts of that people went to on the evening of the event, and then even better to know that we are also giving back to the Rangers family, and the charity is very deserving of our help. So I will pop a link to that. It's a YouTube video, and encourage you to go check it out. Not very long, 3 maybe 4 minutes, something like that, but it's tremendous. And we have of course we have the wonderful follow orchestral music there as well. So from a closing perspective, we don't have an interview again for this week, concentrating our efforts on RTV clean-up, preparation for the AGM, and of course the NARSA 2022 stuff. So we'll park the interviews for a wee while, see how the AGM goes, and see where we want to take this podcast in the future. But that should, I hope, stop you providing any suggestions about anyone you'd like to see interviewed that we haven't interviewed yet, or you've seen them interviewed elsewhere and you'd like a NARSA slant on it or something like that. Please, by all means, get in touch with me directly at rangersscc@hotmail.com. That's 2 S's and 2 C's. I always try and get the 2 S's and 2 C's part into every podcast if I can. And from a quick reminder, once again, you only have to hear this, I guess, one more time, would be next week. But that we do have the following positions up for grabs at our AGM on the 5th of June. The President, and this can only be filled by someone from the existing current executive. Treasurer, the person who's going to manage all of our money. And then the North West, North East and South East Regional Directors. And again, we're trying to reframe those directorships or director roles to be not geographic but to be more functional, and all of this to say that we will be accepting nominations with seconders up to and including the AGM on June the 5th. If you are interested, please by all means check out the website and see all the details on how to go about that, and some of the job descriptions as well, or get in touch with me directly, and I'm happy to talk and walk through what I know of each of them and what I think would be the best way forward as well. I did say we did record a quick podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it just got lost in all the celebrations and all the planning and the other support work that we've been doing for the other things that we have ongoing. But I will be working with Chris Lovett, our production guy, to get you a version of the pod that I did record, I guess that's a week before, last couple of weeks ago now, almost, explaining the constitutional changes as I see them that we have on the table for the AGM, just so that you're as informed and prepared as you can be for the meeting. And on that note, please consider this as another plug, and again you will hear this next week, to attend the meeting. All NARSA clubs and all NARSA club members are welcome to attend, and as I mentioned before, we are going to try it on Zoom this time, and maybe Zoom and the conference bridge. I'm not 100% sure. We'll do some testing this coming weekend to see what the best thing is, but if we can do Zoom, that would be great to see everyone's cheery faces as well. So just in closing for this week, one thing I've thought about over the past couple of weeks or so, or it was kind of percolating in my brain the last couple of weeks or so, and then when you listen to the Keys and Grey pod, you'll know why I started to think about it a little bit more over the last couple of days, that with with success of our team, we will also receive unwanted attention from other clubs for our star performers, and not just on the playing side, up and down the club. It's going to be people seeing the great work that's happening on and off the pitch and saying, I wonder who's responsible for that. That's the sort of thing we could do with on our side as well. So invariably, for Steven Gerrard and his coaching staff to produce the season both domestically and in Europe that they did is going to fuel speculation about how long we can hang on to them. And here's my thoughts on that right now, if you don't mind indulging me. You saw how much they all enjoyed themselves after the successes we enjoyed in Europe, after some of the big games that we had in the league and maybe in the earlier parts of the cups, since we didn't last too long in them. But you could see how much investment they have in the team and how invested they appear to be in the club as well. And winning is a bit of a drug, and something that you want to do again and again and again. And now that they've got over that hump of winning the first one and just realising how big of a deal it is, I can't see them wanting to walk away anytime soon. And also, they're not done yet. They haven't got, let's be frank, close at all to figuring out the domestic cup situation. Not even close. 1 cup final out of 6 in the 3 years they've been here. So they haven't looked yet like a multi-trophy winning team. And I imagine that has to weigh on their competitive spirit, and I'm sure they're motivated to right those wrongs next season, which is why I'm not hugely concerned. And then the next thing is the Champions League. I'm convinced they won't want to go anywhere until we're firmly re-established as a bona fide regular in the Champions League group stages every single season. So what I'd say to all the folks who are on you won't be able to keep them, and that's all the naysayers and the doomsday people and all that sort of thing, and the people that are just trying to kind of poop in our cornflakes, the journey has only begun for these folks in earnest, honestly, for Steven Gerrard and his team. So I don't expect to see them leaving for a number of years yet. So if that makes you feel any better, this is how Gary feels, then I hope that's done the trick. Folks, thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and please do share it with anyone that you think might enjoy it. And until next week, take care of yourselves. All the very best. Cheerio.